Yeah, I just punted the game one where I should have won. Okay, time for round 5. Heliogil, no idea what they play and haven't seen them before. Sand is very solid. There's a little bit of tension between developing my red mana and curving out, but I think I prefer curving out with the sand, going turn 1 Inspector, turn 2 Skyfisher, and then develop my red mana on turn 3. When I'm on the play, that is something that just feels very natural. Okay, it could be Elves or Stumpy. This is more of an Elf start than a Stumpy start. I think the Elf matchup is more favorable than the Stumpy matchup with my current configuration, so I would be alright with that. I would be alright with both matchups. Once again, foils plus mismatch basics. I guess 2 Blaive is disappointed. Okay, so it is Elves. Well, this is one of the things that can punish me for not developing my red mana earlier, though. Because I would want to bolt this down pretty much immediately before it grows out of my right lightning bolt range. The wrong Elvish Vanguard. Yeah, I can let that go. I played the wrong Elvish Vanguard as well. So now I have to decide whether I want to try and out-tempo them and go super aggro, go like Thraben Inspector, Glinthawk, bounce the clue, bounce land, and attack. Or if I want to just crack this clue, look for an untapped red source, play it a little bit. Yeah, I think I like the tempo line. Even though bouncing a clue is always pretty wasteful. It's definitely better than bouncing my land, that is easy. Could theoretically just not play the Glinthawk and hold on to it. But yeah, in every pre-board game where you don't find your Electricity, you're forced into racing anyways, which is why I like having the one Electricity in my deck, because it gives me some alternative angle of attack where I can actually out-control my opponent. But usually you're trying to fly over for damage, keep their Well-Wishers and Essence Wardens off of the board, and then stall with Prismatic Strands. Maybe you become the Monarch and the Prismatic Strands gives you some card advantage. Please just lead the Stampede or something, that would be amazing for me. I guess that's pretty much impossible with them already having 6 cards in hand. They would most likely just play like Timberwatch Elf here or something, yeah. Yeah, these are 2 of the cards that you really want to kill already, so that's annoying. But I have to bolt down this Timberwatch Elf. Otherwise all my other damage-based removal is turned off as well. And Quirion Ranger Timberwatch Elf is just way too scary of a combination. So that's happening, which means I can't Monarch this turn. Though next turn I might be able to, and the Alchemist Vial can help me a little bit in racing the Elvish Vanguard as well. Even if it grows big, I can just stop it from attacking for a few turns and continue trying to race in the air. Is Andrea streaming as well? Because there were so many people gleefully pointing out the Vapor Snack, so it looked like some of his viewers were coming into my chat, but maybe they just like to see me lose or something. But that's interesting. I'd really like to review games that I took part in against opposing streamers, because you can see both perspectives. And that's actually much more valuable than like ghosting people. Like, you learn so much more about playing a game with limited information than afterwards reviewing what the game looked like out of your opponent's perspective. It's incredibly useful from a like educational point of view, so it feels pretty wasteful of people to throw those opportunities away just to ghost. But yeah, for example, I played against Michael Jacob like 3 weeks in a row, and I watched all of the VODs, and I learned a lot from that, just seeing how the games played out from his perspective, and also seeing what he thought about the matchup and like what he thought I did wrong. And this way I came up with a much better plan for the matchup now. I think I'll let them hit me here. The Raven Inspector jump blocking is pretty reasonable, but I can still make a jump block on a later turn. And I will just slam the Monarch here. Even though my opponent likely gets to steal it, they have to spend some excess resources, like extend some of their weaker creatures into my board to be able to steal it. And then it can just help me draw into more burn spells, because I'm already threatening to kill my opponent here. If I find like a Lightning Bolt and a Galvanic Blast or 2 Galvanic Blasts, it's very easy for me to come up with lethal damage. And most of their life gain takes a turn to get online. Like Well-Wisher, they can cast it, but it isn't going to be activatable until it stops being Summoning Sick. So Essence Warden is like their only immediate life gain. And even if they do steal the Monarch from me, I'm still attacking them back with flyers, and then I get it back for my turn. So losing the Monarch, not that big of a deal. Though it looks like here I'll get to keep it. I'll Alchemist Vial one of these two and then jump block the other one. And I have one more profitable blocker as well, so they would need to untap both of these and then attack with all 4. And then they just lose like these two. I take a bit of damage from the Vanguard, and it's super unfavorable for my opponent. Okay, so this one's not attacking. Yeah, now they don't even have an attack that takes the Monarch unless they use another Current Ranger to untap the Birchlore or the Current Ranger. Yeah, no attacks. Like to see that. Journey, also not bad. Could draw cards first to see if I find a burn spell, and then Journey if I don't. Or I can just develop this Skyfisher plus Journey. I think I like drawing the cards. My board position is still safe enough that I don't think I can die to what my opponent's doing. With 2 jump blockers around, my opponent doesn't really have any ways of giving trample or something. Their most threatening play is most likely like Mob Justice. So most likely I'll even get rid of this Lys-Ilana Huntmaster over their Vanguards. I guess I do need to play the Skyfisher, otherwise I don't have lethal, right? Because this only puts them to 5 and I have 4 in the air. So if I don't play the Skyfisher, I set myself up to having to draw a burn spell instead of burn spell being helpful but unnecessary. Okay, so I think I'll get rid of the Huntmaster actually. The Vanguards are a lot more threatening, but the Huntmaster is the only thing that my opponent can combine with Essence Warden to get out of burn range. And the Vanguards are still going to be jump blocked by my Inspector. Okay, there's a bolt. Now I can even afford to block with my Skyfisher. Most likely, unless my opponent has like double Essence Warden or something, then I might need these extra points of damage. So I think going aggro here on turn 3 was, or turn 4 was really what decided this game. I'm not playing against blue, true that. That hasn't happened so far today, right? Yeah, I played against blue-red, Tribe, and 2 mono-blue Delvers. Mono-blue Delver actually much more scary than blue-red Delver, and I need to put some work into practicing that matchup as well, because I had so much experience piloting this against blue-red Delver, because it was the most popular deck for so long, but mono-blue is kind of a new kit in this. I mean, it existed for many years, but it was always the less popular of the 2 Delver options, so I get to face it less often, and therefore I'm not as experienced at like piloting around mutagenic growth and all that. Okay, so this one has to get blocked, and this is 5 damage. I guess I can just block these 2 and take 5. Can I die to mob 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 creatures? So if they go like untap, untap, mob justice me, I guess they don't even have enough untaps for that. Or maybe they do. They can replay this. So after this, I would go to 10. I kill 2 of their creatures, and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage off of mob justice. So I can't die to that. Just trying to make sure I don't overlook anything, because I think, I mean, the game is pretty much just won unless I manage to punt and die to something here. Okay, managed to not die to anything. Mob Justice is red and a colorless. Deal damage to the number of creatures you control to target opponent, or target opponent loses life or something. I don't know. Like, they would deal me damage by the amount of creatures they have, and I wanted to make sure I don't die to that, because it was the only card they can have that still disrupts me, or still manages to kill me. So Electricity and Serrated Arrows are the cards that I think are pretty apparent to everyone that they're good, and everyone would bring them in. And then Core Sanctifiers and Standbearer are the cards that are slightly more surprising to some people, maybe. Standard Bearer stops Timber Watch Elf and Quirion Ranger from doing their thing, though it is slightly weak to my opponents. What is it called? The bow. I forgot. Card names are not my strength. Viridian Longbow, exactly. They can ping it down with Viridian Longbow, and it's awkward adding a 1 toughness creature into your deck when Longbow is already pretty great against you. I mean, not that great, but it's an alternative angle of attack that they can have. And Core Sanctifiers is your answer to Spider Silk Armor, because your 2 game plans are wipe their board with Electricity and fly over and kill them with burn spells, as we could see here. And Spider Silk Armor stops both by giving their board reach and making them, even their 1 toughness creatures, survive Electricity. So we need these in the deck to be able to deal with Spider Silk Armor. So that's 7 cards I want to bring in. And Reaping the Graves can come out for sure. We can reduce the number of Palace Sentinels, though Prismatic Strands into Palace Sentinels into Electricity is kind of a nice game plan still. Journey is alright to keep their must-kill stuff off of the board, but it's pretty weak to my opponent's Gleeful Sabotage. Guess I'll just cut some lootings and some journeys and maybe go down to 1 Palace Sentinels or something. That seems alright. But I could see both keeping the lootings and keeping the journeys could be reasonable. Wait, I cut 1 card too many. Sure, then I keep the extra Sentinels, I think. Alright, yeah, I'm not certain how many of those I want to keep. It deals damage, yeah. Yeah, obviously, yeah, I can Prismatic Strands it, so it makes sense that it deals damage as a red card as well. From a flavor and a mechanic perspective, it would be a black card that loses life or a red card that deals damage. Yeah, some Elves list played. It's usually more of a sideboard card, but I've seen it in the main deck before. Yeah, the sand looks pretty reasonable, though my mana is pretty slow. If they have something that I must kill early on, it's going to be awkward for me. Yeah, I mean, obsolete now? Not really, because Pauper still has a ton of old cards that do weird stuff that they wouldn't print anymore in current sets, but that are still around in Pauper. Okay, so actually Victor Zuri 2 and Dingleberries both followed while I was finishing the previous round, and I managed to, or I didn't manage to thank you in the moment because I was trying to not time out, so thank you. And then Louis HTB and Zoda Pizop, thank you for your follow as well, who just followed right now. The record, I'm 1-0 in this match, and I'm 3-1 in matches in the league, in the challenge. What the hell? Korean Ranger, attack, nothing. How deep did they mulligan? Mulligan to 6, keep this hand, put a card on top. Huh? That is very unusual for my opponent's deck to not have a 2-drop or another 1-drop. I still don't think I want to Galvanic Blast this Korean Ranger, though if my opponent needs it for their 3rd mana it could be beneficial to me, but I think I'll just run out Flame Inspector and keep the Galvanic Blast for a Timber Watch Elf or something. And their next turn is either going to be like Lead the Stampede or Timber Watch Elf, and I don't want to be without an answer to Timber Watch Elf here, because the Serrated Arrows is going to pick off the Korean Ranger at some point anyways. Okay, then thank you Sudden Strength for the host as well. The host did not show up in my dashboard, but it's much appreciated as well. Spider Silk Armor on top would make sense, but yeah, like Timber Watch Elf and Lead the Stampede, there's a lot of 3-drops that you can leave on top, because the deck has a lot of powerful 3-drops. RBR Lit, thank you for your follow. So let's kill this Timber Watch Elf before it untaps. There's no way for me to get Metacraft to play around like Mutagenic Growth or something. I can add a 2nd artifact but not a 3rd one. And then we attack. I mean, it turns out that killing the Korean Ranger would have also been great for me, because my opponent is stuck on 2 lands and they need to constantly bounce their 2nd land back to their hand, like float 2 mana, bounce it, replay it to get to 3. But like then if I kill this and my opponent just has a 3rd land or top decks a 3rd land, I'm pretty screwed against the Timber Watch Elf. So I think I still prefer playing it more conservatively and holding on to the Galvanic Blast so I don't get wrecked by Timber Watch. And finding an untapped land here just pretty much ends the game. I get to shoot down this Priest of Titania, then next turn shoot down the Korean Ranger. GG. No such land. Usually it's always better to run out the cycling artifact out of your hand instead of sacking the clue, unless you expect counter magic. But here it might actually be better to sack this instead of running out the Prophetic Prism, because I get to play around. No, never mind. That's nonsense. The reason that I was considering that is because it plays around Gleeful Sabotage, so not both of my clues get blown up. But of course my follow-up is Glint Hawk, so I need this on the board. Otherwise I get no value out of it. Okay, now I might be in trouble though, because missing my land drops makes it so now my opponent has a turn where they have access to 8 mana at the minimum, and then a lot more most likely, instead of having access to 3 mana if I had found the Serrated Arrows activation. So they can go off here, cast like Lead the Stampede, fill their board, Priest of Titania, tap it, untap it, do things, flood the board, and I currently don't have an Electricity to mop up all of that mess that they're going to create. Yeah, this is a problem. If I just had the Serrated Arrow mana, the game was pretty much over. Now they have access to 5 mana after the Lissalana Huntmaster. So I basically need to find a... Well, maybe I can fly over for damage again, because I have the Prismatic Strands to stall. So as long as my opponent doesn't have Well-Wisher or Essence Warden to go with all of this, I might be able to completely ignore all of this. Just accept the fact that my opponent has infinite mana. And fly over for the win, but yeah, no. Electricity doesn't do it anymore. And their tokens are actually a problem now, so yeah, this is trouble. Guess I'll take it. I don't really want to trade off Glinthawk for this Netta Sentinel yet, I think. Because I might still be able to get this off of the board and then Electricity afterwards. Yeah. The double block is not that, I guess triple block is not that bad. Oh, there's another game-winning 4-mana card. Okay, let's hope to find some lands, please. No. Yeah. I have all the cards I need to win. I just don't have the mana to deploy them all. It's pretty bad. At least my opponent seems to be out of gas. They had 5 mana available last turn and didn't do anything with it, so that means they for sure don't have a Lead the Stampede in their hand. And that's like the card they really need to top deck to get out of, or to keep. No! Oh, what is happening today? Okay, 2 cards sounds beatable. Elvish Vanguard is very annoying because it goes ham with this Huntmaster. Man, they for sure didn't have a Lead the Stampede the previous turn because there was 5 mana left over with the untap. And then it's the first turn where they're threatened to run out of steam, they draw it right away. That is very bad. Very, very bad, because now this grows out of proportions. And I need to spend like a turn on Spider Silk Armor, like destroying Spider Silk Armor, fly over, and then I need to spend all of my other turns on Prismatic Stance. It's still not impossible to win from here if there's no life gain on my opponent's side. If I draw the untapped land next turn, I go attack for 4, like destroy this, attack for 4, jump block a little bit on defense. Wow. That is pretty aggressive. What? I guess they have Magnify as their last card. I'm not sure if I can beat a Magnify though. God damn it. Yeah, I think my spot is weak enough that I just have to hope my opponent is making a mistake here. If they have Magnify, I'm pretty much dead. But I don't think I can afford to play around it, because my next turn is going to involve Core Sanctifier. In the best case, where I draw land, my next turn is going to be Core Sanctifiers anyways. So if I take more damage here, or like do something like this, like theoretically I can do blocks like this. Let's consider that. They cast Magnify, because they have to, otherwise they just lose these 2 for no value. I mean, they don't really have to. They just hit me for 6 and then keep the Magnify in their hand. And then I untap and I go Sanctifiers. Yeah, Magnify is your +1/+1 to all of your creatures. That's usually the other card they bring in to deal with Electricity. Oh, all creatures. I guess they could have Rep and Vigor. Okay, I've overlooked that. I thought it was only their creatures. Okay, then I can just make the obvious blocks. Maybe they have Rep and Vigor, but then the obvious blocks still are not bad under Rep and Vigor. Sure. I can have like 1 Vines of the Vesper or something to make one of these blocks bad, but I don't know. My situation here is still not great, but getting to trade some of their board off is pretty. So they did have the 1 Vines of the West for sure. Yeah, that was the other card that they could have, but I think it's not that awful for me. My situation overall is still not great, but yeah. I guess now I don't have many ways of getting counterplay, because now I'm not attacking in the air. If I had kept the Glintalk around, then I could start attacking for 4 here, do some jump blocks, then attack for 4 Prismatic Strands, and then play another. So yeah, it was definitely useful for my opponent to do that. Surprisingly terrible for me that this happened, but I guess now my plan is just to trade down their board. Their Lead the Stampede was kind of underwhelming with just 2 creatures, and if they run out of spells, then this is no longer getting triggered, and this is not growing. Yeah, no good attacks. That is pretty decent for me. Now I can even deny them more mana by killing the Priest of Titania. I think that's better than like becoming the Monarch right away. Extra Prismatic Stone is also pretty great, so now the fly over plan is starting to become a reality. Can I attack with this already? I think I might be able to. Their attack backs are pretty decent, but my plan is going to be Skyfisher, bounce the planes, pass with 3 mana open, and then from there on I can start going for the non-interactive fog your attacks every turn and fly over game plan. Because I have 4 turns of like Moment's Peace going. Sure. I think I'll do this block and let this unblocked. This is better with Essence Warden. Like the tokens going wide are a little bit more annoying. And this is better to be able to jump block. But like I can beat the 3/3 in combat again in a few turns, while the whatever it's going to be like 5/5 or 8/8 or whatever, it's going to be impossible to kill in a few turns. More vines of the sure. I mean, it looks bad for me on the surface, but it doesn't do anything about the game plan that I have, which is fly over and prismatic stance. So I'm actually very happy that my opponent drew this instead of another Lead the Stampede or another card that I'm unable to kill. So like Timberwatch Elf or something would be annoying. So I guess it's not that annoying when I'm already flying over. I actually would love to discard this to hand size. Can I do that? I think I can. Can crack Clue. Because that allows me to develop my board even faster. Okay, fancy play coming up. Fancy play of the day. I'll discard to hand size on purpose. Wait, no, it doesn't work. Oh yeah, it does, but I have to bounce the arrows as well. Okay, I guess my fancy play was not as good as I was hoping for. It's pretty alright. Yeah. I think it's better than having to like we are 3-1. Sure, untap that, I don't mind. Yeah, I think the fancy play actually is good. I'm throwing away all types of value like card advantage, mana advantage, everything. But I think just getting the extra flyer onto the board here and being able to flash. No, wait. No, I miscounted actually. Oh my god. Okay. Fancy play was awful because I miscounted. What the hell? Wait, where did I miscount? Oh, that I replayed the land. Yeah, I had to replay the land and then I don't end up with 8 cards. Fail fish. Okay. Too fancy for my own good. I was intending to bounce enough things so that I end up discarding to hand size. And then I could throw the Prismatic Strands away and cast it from my graveyard instead of having to pay mana for it. No, this is actually super awful now. Now I have to spend a turn on killing the Well-Wisher. Oh my god, this was so bad. I should have just only played Skyfisher and went for the plan that I originally had. But I miscounted, so I thought I end up with 8 cards and I didn't. Wow. Hope no one saw that. Fancy play was definitely too fancy because it just wasn't legal. These attacks are still not that great for my opponent, even without Prismatic Strands. So, but yeah, that was not great. If I draw a Bolt or something, I can just go for this game plan and ignore the Well-Wisher. Disgusting. Fancy play of the day, yeah. Oh my god. Why did I have to talk as well? If I just did this mistake and then didn't say anything, it would have been okay. It just looks a little bit embarrassing. Now it looks incredibly embarrassing. The joys of being a streamer. Yeah, I do have to kill this, I think. And then like kill this, jump block here, so I actually lose one of my flyers now. Because I bounced this for no reason. If I just had it kept on the board, I could have gone for all of this without having to worry about the Well-Wisher. Oh god. Still can't discard your hand size here, right? No. God damn it. So I have to make one jump block, and now I'm dying to top deck Vines of the Westwood. My opponent has 0 cards in hand, and there's very little things that they can draw, but it's still pretty dumb to open myself up to dying to cards when I had no chance of losing to anything whatsoever otherwise. Guess if I block here and there, I don't die to Magnify. Yeah, I think that's okay. How to win a Pauper Challenge 101. Make incredibly embarrassing plays that don't actually work, and give your opponents a ton of extra odds. Well, I'm still crushing here unless I get Vines of the Westwoods killed, and we already saw 2 of them from our opponent. I don't think I can afford to double jump block. I'll have to jump block this one. Then I'm taking 4. If they have Magnify, the reason I kept this extra blocker back instead of taking 5 is because now Magnify only deals 6 to me instead of 7. Okay, got there. I guess Mob Justice still kills me, but I think I'm out of the danger zone now. I guess I can even double Prismatic Strands. Keep double Prismatic Strands open so that I don't die to Mob Justice, because I can use one of the Prismatic Strands to deal with green creatures and the other one deals with the red spell. And then next turn I Monarch and have Flashback open. Sure. That made this unnecessarily hard for myself, but I think I got there. All the life gain stuff that my opponent can have is now under control as well. I guess second Spider Silk Armor would be a little annoying, because then I can't really continue flying over. That is something I can still lose to. And yeah, Longbow, I guess. I think I'll just shoot this down for those reasons. And once again play my untapped land, so I have Prismatic Strands and that from the graveyard open together. Now, if my opponent doesn't attack with both creatures, I don't even have to Prismatic Strands. So that's a nice little added bonus. And if they do attack with both creatures, I get to kill this Lysilana Huntmaster by blocking it and giving it the -1/-1 counter. So yeah, I think I'm alright now. Longbow doesn't actually beat Prismatic Strands, because you can just respond to them equipping it by giving protection green. So they can only deal like 1 damage a turn to you on their turn, on your turn. They can deal 0 damage on their turn. But like if they have multiple Quirion Rangers, they can deal damage with Longbow. But on this board, in this board position, a single Longbow would still lose the race. Like they equip it, I respond with Strands, then it's useless for their turn. They go into my turn, ping me for 1, and then I pass the turn, and like they can ping me for 1 again, but then they still end up dead to the Flyers. But definitely more complications in this game than I would have preferred. Relic of Progenitus or something. Like I'm considering whether I should cast this one or this one, and like this one is a lot less mana efficient, of course. If I get both of them into the graveyard, I can cast them for free, but I think casting the one from my graveyard is slightly more beneficial. Green. I can get this off of the board or get their blockers. They do have to jump block regardless. I think I'll get this one so they don't make more tokens. This allows me to draw a burn spell right away, then the game just ends a little quicker. Electricity also ends the game. And they don't currently even have a board where they're forcing me to Prismatic Strands. If I cast this Sky Fisher now as a blocker, then I can block their Elvish Vanguard, and this one only does 1 damage to me. Bounce this. If I Monarch into Burn Spell, I also just win. Sure. Now I can discard to hand size. Got there, boys. All of that planning 5 turns ago was just so I can discard to hand size this turn. Still feels better to keep this in hand, so that I dodge like Relic of Progenitors or something. Wow.